8, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Project Egg Show. I'm your host, Ben Gothard, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Bond, Jason Bond. Now, Jason is a total badass, co-founder of the trading education powerhouse Raging Bull. He's also been featured on tons of very credible media outlets like Forbes, The Street, Huffington Post, etc. Jason, it's an honor to be speaking with you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, man, Ben, I'm super excited to be here. Let's do this.
Hell yeah, let's do this. Let's jump right in. First question for you today, sir, is what is your story?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. School teacher for a decade, literally a decade. And probably in like my 7th year of teaching, maybe it was like my 6th year of teaching, I was doing my taxes. My wife also a teacher. We were in upstate New York. So she's a first grade teacher. I'm teaching elementary physical education, coaching varsity sports, and I'm doing my taxes. I was doing TurboTax, came with a copy of Quicken. And I thought, all right, CD-ROM, dropped it in the drive, and kind of pulls all your information from your taxes. For us, it was pretty simple, just a W-2, teacher salaries and stuff. And then it Quicken spits out this number, it kind of like takes all your income, your savings, your assets, and it tells you your net worth. Now, at the time, I didn't even know what net worth meant. I know it sounds silly, college educated, master's degree, but like finance was not my thing. Money was not my thing. I took student loans in college because that's all I knew. And all I saw was this big red number that said minus $250,000, or it was red in parentheses, and I knew that to be negative. And I thought, that's not good. Like, what does it mean to have a red net worth? And in that moment, I realized that the few $1,000s we had in the bank account and the negative net worth meant we probably were never going to be out of debt. I could kind of forecast what my teaching salary would be for the next 20 years on a 2% raise. Same for my wife, and what was going out, what was coming in. And I thought, oh my goodness, I need to do something about that. So that's a pivot point in my life. So I'm 42 now. That was at about 33. So about a decade, about 10 years ago. And I started to make the transition from being in debt and just having a few $1,000s in the bank account and living paycheck to paycheck comfortably. We had a small ranch house, 1,000 square feet, 1 bathroom, 3 bedrooms, nothing huge, but we were pretty proud of it as teachers all right, I just don't want to have debt anymore. And how the heck do I get rid of this debt as a school teacher? Like you don't have a ton of options. So what do I do next is really where the story all starts.
And where does it go from there?
Oh, man. All right. So let's see. Go to college. I get a teaching degree. I get a teaching job. I get a master's degree. In New York State, you have to have one. I'm doing that job. I told you I kind of realized I had a negative net worth. My wife's like 4 or 5 years into her teaching career at the time. We pulled up. So I started to realize I wanted to be out of debt. So I started a roofing business. I knew how to put roofs on houses. I thought if I had my own business, I could make more money. So I'm doing roofing business in the summer, coaching camps and clinics. And a friend of mine says, hey, you should probably look into Dave Ramsey. He used to be on Fox Business at night, and he has this whole debt snowball thing. You pay off your smallest interest-bearing debt first, so like JCPenney's credit card for $500, and you start to tackle bigger debts. My wife and I literally read that book, Dave Ramsey's book, and we thought, wow, this is something we could do. And so we started, you tackle that JCPenney's credit card for $500 and you're like, yeah, man, you start to get a little bit of momentum. But as you move towards the student loans, which were like $100,000, and the car loans and the mortgage, it gets a little bit more overwhelming on a teaching salary. The long story short, I started to open my eyes to, all right, I'm not going to be able to pay off these bigger debts with our teaching salaries. So I need to find a way to make money faster. I tried a lot of stuff. Most of it failed. I stumbled into stock trading. That was something where I didn't have instant success, but I kind of thought, all right, this could be a vehicle to doing that. Again, not instant success, kind of shelved it for a while. We sold our house to pay off our debt. We did a lot of other crazy things, like sold our nicer used cars for less nicer used cars. So we really downgraded our lifestyle to get rid of our debt. And I was in my 10th year of teaching. So I taught from 2001 to 2011. And I met with the superintendent of schools. I resigned my job. A lot of people said midlife crisis, like, you sure you want to do this, Jay? You know, you're 10 years into, teaching in this school district. You're 20 years away from a pension. What are you going to do for health benefits? So I was really scared, but I quit my teaching job when we moved into that apartment, paid off all our debt. So we really hustled for probably like 3 or 4 years, from probably like my 6th year of teaching to my 10th year of teaching, to pay down our debt, which meant, like I said, downgrading cars, selling our house, moving back into an apartment. So we got to zero, had about $3,000 in the bank account. I resigned my teaching career and I started Raging Bull with my business partner, Jeff Bishop. And it's, it's grown to be something much more than I ever thought it could be. But literally studying to be a principal to try and make more income, and thought, you know what, I'm getting my second master's degree. Principal makes $100,000 a year. What would I have to do in business, to make more than that? And that's really like so it was realizing I had a negative net worth and probably would never have a net worth, or not much of one, to, all right, so what do I do about it? And tried a bunch of things. Stock trading started to make sense. Thought, all right, if I'm gonna take a risk and be a stock trader and build a business around it, I probably shouldn't have all this debt. So got rid of the debt first, following Dave Ramsey's debt snowball plan. Quit my job, super scared, man. Few $1,000s in the bank account, no teaching salary anymore. I had my wife's teaching salary to lean on. That helped. I'm about 35 years old. People are calling midlife crisis, like, just buy a sports car. Sure you want to do this. 17 years of my life invested in college, teaching, and then just, I'm going to shift to being a stock trader and teach people how to trade stocks. So I dropped out of being a principal school. I was in school to be a principal. I dropped out of that, quit teaching, started this business, and it's just been a slingshot since. First 3 years were really hard, and then it caught critical mass in year 4, and it's just doubled every year since.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you may not have actually ever quit teaching. It seems like you may have translated the from one style of teaching in one subject to another.
Yeah, it really did, Ben. And it's something that I think, it's one of the reasons I think I've been very successful. So I love teaching kids, elementary physical education teacher. Like my calling is movement. It's not necessarily being a stock trader. But as I explored, what could I do to make money? Trading stocks made sense, but I wasn't good at it. And nor are most people. So I was reading Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week, and he's like, the best thing you can do is identify a market before you build a business. And so as I was losing money as a stock trader, research showed that most other people were as well. And I thought, wow, all right, so I know how to get educated on something. What if I got good at stock trading? Could I then create a business around that? And I saw other people doing it, but the barrier to entry was like, I actually have to get good at stock trading. So my whole idea while I was sitting there in my second master's degree in the evenings around my coaching activities, studying to be a principal, was, what if I could get good at stock trading and charge people a fee to teach them how to stock trade? Like, there was a market of people who were losing money, and could I be the answer to that? And so I sought a mentor, now my business partner, Jeff Bishop. He taught me how to trade stocks. This was a slow, arduous process. People always think like, this stuff happens overnight, but it was like 3 years worth of training. He's a super patient guy, thank goodness. He had already been successful prior to me kind of coming on board and asking him to teach me how to trade stocks. Conversation we had was, if I can get good at trading stocks, I'll teach it to the world. And he said, okay, so let's do this. He allowed me to use his money to get good early on, because I didn't have much money to trade stocks with. I remember trading with like a $3,000 to $5,000 account. And he's like, no, it's not how it works. And he seeded me money. And I got off the ground. But a lot of boneheaded moves in that journey. Like I said, 3 years of trying to figure out, how do I become profitable consistently? Like, I could be profitable for a month or 2 months, and then I would make a boneheaded move and lose all those profits on one trade because of some, inner subconscious psychological thing, like my refusal to take a stop loss, for example. But yeah, so my bread and butter now is Raging Bull, which is a powerhouse of trading education, not just me teaching, but my mentor now teaches other people. He didn't before. I literally sought him out. We created a business around it. And a lot of our top students who came to us, paid us a fee, learned our stuff, kind of modified it into their own thing, have gone on to teach within Raging Bull. And we've really grown the business around being a real money platform, meaning we trade real money. We put our money where our mouth is, and we stream our portfolios to clients. So today I'm trading, right? And I made, I think, $2,500. So I'm trading today, and my clients are watching me buy and sell stocks, options, whatever I choose to trade. They can see me do it in real time through my E-Trade account or my TD Ameritrade account. So we get this total transparency there. And then as things are going good or going bad, we're talking about it on the microphone, just like you and I are talking right now about this whole journey from being a school teacher in debt to, okay, I'm going to learn how to trade and build a business around that, to, all right, now I'm doing that. And what does that look like?
I love what you said about reaching out to your then mentor and saying, teach me how to trade and I'll teach the world. I think that's so powerful. And I'm curious because I think education is one of the most important facets of life.
I'm with you there.
How did you know you could teach the world? Like how do you teach the world? What does that look like to you?
Yeah. I didn't know, but I'd seen some other services doing it, charging a monthly fee or charging a yearly fee to teach their trading strategy. I didn't have one at the time, but I knew that people were making a business off of teaching trading. And so I thought, I just need to be a good stock trader. And so I didn't know what that looked like. It's going to sound foolish, but at one point in time, I thought that meant that I had to go to a business school and get an MBA. Like I just didn't know what it meant to be a stock trader. And I certainly didn't have anybody in my family to point me in the right direction. So I'm literally fumbling through message boards on Yahoo Finance, trying to meet people, joining groups about stock trading. And that's kind of how I stumbled into my business partner, my now business partner, the guy that said he would teach me how to trade. But my proposal to him was, there wasn't a lot of, I approached a lot of people with this, by the way. He was one of the only people who got back to me. So my proposal was, I could tell based on the internet and whatnot that he knew how to trade stocks. He's a professional stock trader. And that just means that, he was attempting to make a living trading stocks. I said, you clearly know a lot more than me about this. I have a master's in education and I can see other people teaching the world how to trade stocks, or teaching small components of the world how to trade stocks. Clearly a market, again, going back to Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week, like he just kept saying, like, identify your market before you build a business. And I thought, I'm losing money trading. The statistics say a lot of other people are losing money trading. These E-Trade online platforms were only gaining momentum at the time. 10 years ago, these were in their infancy, like TD Ameritrade, these online brokerage houses where you could, buy and sell stocks for $5 or $7 were revolutionary. And so these were gaining momentum. And I thought, wow, everybody's going to have this in their lap, in the future. Like, you're going to be able to do it. Everybody's going to be able to do it. And statistics say most people are really bad at it, but they want to do it. So you teach me everything you know. I'll try and get good at it. And if I do, then, obviously all we have to do is figure out how to market this. And we got really good at that too. So you can be a great stock trader and a really good teacher of stock trading, but if you can't get that message out to people, you really don't have a business. So I make a lot of money trading stocks, but I make much, much more money teaching people how to trade stocks. So I like that because as many income sources as I can have, I want. After being broke, I want as many, that's one thing that I've learned. Like, the more income sources you have coming in, the better.
I feel like there are a lot of people who are both good at trading stocks and great teachers, but very, very few of those individuals have been able to achieve the level of success that you have. I mean, Raging Bull it's incredible. I mean, it's incredible how big of an operation you've created.
Isn't that something? So it's like elementary physical education teacher, right? You wouldn't think like your kid's elementary physical education teacher is going to go on to grow $100 million company in 7 years, right? It's just, and I didn't think so either. I just wanted to make more than a principal made, which was $100,000 a year. That was my goal, and have a little more freedom. But I didn't mean to interrupt you there. But like that was my vision early on. Like, you know, I'm studying to be a principal, and I'm paying this tuition for a second master's degree, because you have to have a second master's degree to be a principal in New York State. And an assistant principal makes about $80,000 a year to start in an elementary school, a little bit more in a middle school, a little bit more in a high school. And then you graduate to being the head principal, and they make a little bit more. And I thought, that's my answer to paying off my debt or getting ahead in life. You know, I'll just get a second master's degree. I'll hustle down a principalship, be a great principal. And that's how I'll, you know, not have this debt that I had. And in that moment, I was kind of toying with the idea of, well, you know, what if I become a good stock trader? How many clients would I need to, you know, make more than a principal? And I started doing the math, and I was probably not that many. Could I do that? And I thought, I see other people doing it. Why not me? You know, I think the reason I've been successful is I believed the guys like Dave Ramsey that it could be done. Like, if I sacrificed now, meaning gave up the security of my job, my house, and went out into the world and kind of fought, or eat what you kill type scenario, that maybe I could do it. I chose to believe that I possibly could. And I think when you say, you know, there's a lot of great traders out there, a lot of great teachers of trading out there, and they haven't built a business as big as you have, I think that I've just carried the same enthusiasm I had when I used to teach elementary phys ed. So the kids would come in the gym, it'd be 50 first graders. And I had a teaching partner, Dana, and the kids would come in the gym, and it was organized chaos, man. Like, I taught that class with the energy you would see at a WWE event. It was like Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals last night. Like, tons of action. The announcer was really into it. That's how my gym looked. And I just brought that to the stock trading world. And I think that's kind of unique. And it really is, because I don't think most people teach physical education for 10 years, learn how to trade stocks, and then get good at teaching other people how to do it as well. I just, so I think that kind of interests people. And also, I think a lot of people can relate to it. People always tell me, they're like, Jason, didn't you know you were going to be broke? Like, teachers shouldn't expect to make money. And I said, man, I went to college to be a pro baseball player. I had to try out with the Atlanta Braves. I had to try out South Carolina Gamecocks. I didn't make either. So I went to Niagara University, which was D1. And I didn't make the clearinghouse for not enough math sequences in high school. So I couldn't even play D1, and I didn't even know that. So I'm at Niagara University looking to play D1 baseball. I'm about to try out for the team, and the Division I clearinghouse for the NCAA says, you can't, you got to do academics for a year before you can even try out. So I leave. I'm a marketing major. I go on to be an education major at a community college and play baseball. And it just wasn't at the level I wanted to play. It wasn't good enough. I went on to be a physical therapist at Damon College. I then went on to SUNY Brockport. So I'm in my fourth college in 4 years, and I'm an accounting major. And then I'm like, this accounting stuff is nonsense. So I changed to physical education. And after 5 years in college, you're kind of like, you have to graduate and go into the world and do something. So when people criticize me for getting into education and not knowing that I would be broke, I kind of say, hey, I didn't even know what I wanted to do when I got in college. I thought I was going to play professional baseball. Like, I ended up playing 3 years of college baseball. I was good, but certainly not professional level, not even minor leagues. But as a kid, I thought I was good enough, Ben. Like, I really thought I could do that. So the story isn't, it's a little bit of rags to riches, but it's not different than what I think anybody else could achieve if they really just believed in themselves, found a market where there was a need for a good teacher who's motivated. It's 5 o'clock. We're doing this podcast. I was up at 4 a.m. this morning doing my research, trading today, made $2,500 trading. That's not a ton of money, but it's a good amount. And now I'm doing this. And when I get off of this, I got to do a 1 hour video that I then send over to my editors, and they break down, and it'll be in a commercial tomorrow. And it's like, so I think another reason that this has become big for me is I like the action. When I was a phys ed teacher, I showed up early. I did my lessons. I taught 7 classes. I went on and I coached girls varsity basketball or boys and girls varsity cross country. Like, I liked hustling from morning to sundown. And I kind of approach this business the same way. I'm creating stuff. I'm working with people. I'm trading. I'm teaching. I'm trying to get better every single day. And I think, just being here with you is an example of that.
I'm fascinated to learn about the transformation from being in a place of you're doing what you love, but financially it's not working out, how you'd like it to be. You end up in that place where you are minus $250,000 from a net worth perspective, to now you're a co-founder of a $100 million company.
It's pretty cool, right?
I'm interested to learn how that has impacted you as an individual. What has been your transformation of self, of character?
Yeah. Lots of stuff, man. And, we can just go right into it. I thought money would be the answer to a lot of things in life. Since I never had it, I think it's kind of normal to feel that way. Once I make money, things will be better. And so as a school teacher, in my 10th year when I eventually resigned, and things were pretty smooth. I taught, I coached in the evenings. I had a roofing business during the summer. I did camps and clinics. Not until we really did the Dave Ramsey debt snowball did things get a little chaotic, because once I learned no matter how hard I worked at this stuff, unless I start making more money, it's going to be really hard to pay off all this debt. Then things got a little chaotic in our household. But, when I was teaching, coaching, and doing my roofing business, things were pretty predictable. A few $1,000s came in each month, a few $1,000s went out. There might've been a few $100 left over at the end of the month that went into savings. There's a few $1,000s in savings. If we take a vacation to Florida, it meant driving our Ford Escort down to Florida, because we couldn't afford airline tickets, and we would stay well off the ocean, and we would eat, very cheaply. So I thought, okay, now I've got money, all of this stuff is going to get better. And it didn't necessarily make me a better person. So I had to deal with that. So that's the first thing I will say. For me, money didn't necessarily make me a better person. And in some ways, for a short period of time, I became a lesser person, I think. Like, I'll give you one example. Like there was a period of time where I became a really heavy drinker. Like all of a sudden, I had this wild success. I've got lots of money. And I to this day, I've continued to follow Dave Ramsey's plan. So I should preface this. Everybody should know, like, I don't have a credit score. When you no longer use credit cards or have a mortgage or car loans, personal loans or student loans, after a period of time of taking no credit, you don't go to zero, you just fall off the map. So this is something I learned through Dave Ramsey's program. And so after being buried in $250,000 worth of debt, I told myself, I don't ever want to have that problem again. So I'll always live well below my means. So I pay for my house cash, my car's cash, everything is cash, no credit cards, nothing. Is that a little bit over the top for most people? Absolutely. But until you've been the school teacher in your 10th year with master's degrees, doing your second master's degree, $250,000 in debt, and you don't know how you're going to undo all of that, until you've been in my shoes, it's not really that drastic. Like, I just don't ever want to owe people money again, where I'm forced to give up the teaching job that I really liked. I loved working with kids. I still do to this day. I don't think I would ever go back. I'm really into this now, but I didn't necessarily want to leave teaching because I didn't enjoy teaching. I absolutely loved it. I loved coaching too. I was really good at it, but I left because I wanted to secure up my family's financial future. And so once I did that, and because I stayed true to what I learned from Dave Ramsey, which was live below my means, pay everything cash, and build my financial wall, which, build up my savings and my investments and stuff. Once I did that, I was like, what do I do now? Like, I'm not really a Ferrari guy or a Lamborghini guy, or, we've got a private jet, but that's just out of convenience. The airport's really close to our house versus driving to Boston. So we can literally get on a plane and go anywhere we want. So that's nice. But, I drive a Tesla. That's a nice car, but it's not, I don't have like 5 different sports cars in my garage. My wife's got a nice BMW. Our house is reasonable. And so I did all that. And then and the business is just growing and growing and growing still. And money keeps coming in. And it's like, what do I do next? Honestly, Ben didn't know what to do. So what do you do? I've got a lot of money, a lot of free time. My business is growing. So I started drinking all the time. That ended very poorly for me because trading and drinking is a bad idea. But because I achieved what I thought would be the fix, it really wasn't. I then turned to a bad habit. The bad habit became a worse habit. Won't even go into that, but the bottom line is it spiraled for me. I've been sober for a year now, because that wasn't working out well for me. So I had to come to a place where it's like, all right, what do I do next? I still work hard to grow the business, and that's my primary motivation. I try to be a great husband, a great father, good to myself. But I kind of lost a little bit of that when I had achieved the financial goal, and then it was like, what next? So that's one thing that I will really say to people is like, I thought it would be the answer, like money would be freedom. And in many ways it wasn't. You have to learn a whole different set of things once that flows in. And I wasn't prepared for it. But I work really hard on it now. It's not like I went out and overspent. I had that under grips, but what do I do with my time? I'm still working hard on the business, but I don't even know if I'm explaining it well, Ben, but that transformation right there was one of the weirdest things that I've ever gone through. Literally like achieving my goal, but then in my mind being a lesser person, not like I was disrespectful to anybody or arrogant with my money or anything. Just, you wouldn't know that, I've done well, unless you're watching this podcast. But like around me, you wouldn't know, but within my person, I wasn't prepared for that. Just that experience. And it wasn't like, I'm a star or anything. It wasn't that type of thing. It's just like, wow, all right, I've achieved the financial thing. And I don't feel really any better. I don't know if I'm explaining that well.
Yeah, you absolutely are. And I think really the core of what you're getting at is something that is so tremendously important. It's so tremendously important because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and what's interesting is that a lot of people have goals based on money, like financial goals, and those are really the only goals that are driving them. And so once you get to that, like you said, what's next?
Yeah.
What's next? And so I'm really interested to learn, now that you are sober, what is next? Like, how do you spend your time?
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know what I had to learn? I had to learn to be with myself. So money helps, right? So instead of having to drive an hour and a half to get to Boston to then wait an hour and a half to get on a plane, if we can, swing it, which we can do the private jet thing. That's cool, right? Money helps because it's more convenient. 10 minutes down the road, I'm on the jet and I'm going to where I want to go. Money can buy you that convenience. So that's cool. So it's not that money's a bad thing, but you have to learn to be with yourself. It'll make the convenience more fun if you don't want to do the 3-hour wait to get on a plane at the Boston airport. But it doesn't fix the things that might be wrong with yourself. And you nailed it. I was driven solely by, okay, here's the crisis. The crisis is I'm quitting my teaching career and I don't have income. And, what am I going to do to support my family? So that was the crisis. And once I addressed the financial thing, I'm telling you, man, I was dumbfounded. I really was, because that was my sole driver for like 3 years straight. I worked diligently, long days. And to be honest, I really enjoyed the challenge. It was like trying to make pro baseball. I loved the fight, to grow something, I'm going to be a pro baseball player. And so when South Carolina Gamecocks came up to give me the tryout, I was so jacked up. And when I got an invite to try out for the Braves, I was so jacked up. And then across my college career, I played baseball for 3 years and I was just okay at that level. I was, and it became obvious I wasn't going to the pros. And that experience of not going to the pros was a lot like achieving the money goal. Like there's a realization you've come to the end of the line, kind of like, all right, I'm not going to make pros. What do I do now? And so I just became the best possible school teacher I could become. And then I'm in $250,000 of debt. What do I do now? And so having that huge, unsurmountable, I think this is the way you say it, challenge in front of me kept me focused and driven and whatnot. And then once the money thing was achieved, freedom of time did become available. There was more time and there was, my business was running. So the money's coming in. So what does it matter if I drink at lunch? What does it matter if I drink all day long? So like I do whatever I want, like I've achieved my goal. And so to answer your question, that didn't really make me happier. Like being hungover in the morning and throwing up is not a good feeling. I think we can all agree on that. But I would do that over and over and over. And for a few years, like I said, it spiraled. And so I got a lot of coaching. So like I sought a mentor to teach me how to trade, right? I wanted to be a school teacher before that. I went to college to teach me how to teach. And so in life, there are people who know a lot more than we do on certain topics. So we retain their business and we have them teach us, and hopefully that makes us a better person. I never took the time to hire anyone to teach me how to just like be with myself. And so what does that look like for me now? I used to be a cross country coach, which, running, distance running. So I jog and I build in time for jogging. So 3 things. I take care of myself first, because if I don't take care of myself, I'm not taking care of my wife, my son, or my business. These are the important things to me now. So myself is not just my health, but it's like my mental game. So I've got a bunch of books over here. I read a lot of books on emotional intelligence. And then like Tony Robbins says, it's not just the emotional intelligence, it's the emotional fitness. How do you practice you can read the book Emotional Intelligence by, I forget the author, but Emotional Intelligence is a great book. You can read the book. You can meet with all sorts of therapists and pay the best therapists out there and life coaches out there, which I did, by the way. But unless you put into practice what those therapists, life coaches, or books have taught you, then you're intelligent on the topic of emotional intelligence, but you might not be emotionally fit. Put it this way. I had a Peloton treadmill and bike in the other room. They definitely work if I get on them. They don't work if I don't get on them. And the same applies with that. So I take in a lot of information now to make myself a better person. As my drinking spiraled, I can assure you, I wasn't a better person, but I didn't know what to do. And then I thought, people pay me to teach them how to trade stocks. What is wrong with me paying other people to teach me how to be a more balanced person? And so I go to yoga. This is something that I never, ever in my life would have bought into until people taught me why it's important. I meditate. I do things that are good for my spirit. And I'm telling you, it has been the best thing that I've ever done in my life. Like I got the money and I was like, I did it. And then things got worse. Not horrible, but they got noticeably worse for me. But I wasn't in debt anymore. So, and then I thought, this kind of sucks. So what do I do about it? I retired. I retained top life coaches, therapists, read books, podcasts, audiobooks, and I put into practice emotional intelligence. So I feel like now I'm emotionally fit and financially fit. And I'm telling you, my wife loves it. I know my son loves it. Like, I love it. First and foremost, like, I love it. I'm happy now. And I didn't really know how to do that once I made a lot of money. I thought money would be the cure. Like, I'm not sure I even thought about it, because to be honest, like early on, I wasn't even sure I would make money. And then once I did, like, I think we all just think like money fixes problems. And so using the jet analogy, like, yeah, you can get on a plane quicker, get to your destination quicker, so you save some time. But are you able to be happy with yourself in your space when there's nothing like crazy going on? Because stock trading is crazy, right? It's up, it's down, the market's down, Trump tariffs, whatever. We're going to do the wall in Mexico. We're not going to do the wall. We're going to tariff Mexico. Market's tanking, is going up. Like, it is a hyper arousal business. And unless you can meditate and kind of come down from that, booze is a great way to do it, right? Like, you're in this, you're building a business, it's stressful. You're trading stocks, it's stressful. You're teaching people to trade, that's stressful. And then how do you come down from that? And so I didn't know how to do it. And now I do. And so for anybody that's like pursuing wealth as their goal, once you get there, just be prepared. It might not answer, what do you do with your time then? We all want to be rich because we want freedom of time, I think. Freedom of time might be buying 5 Ferraris. Great. If that's what you love to do, there's nothing wrong with that. But that just won't be the answer to the other things that I kind of address. And it's not just drinking. It's just like, that was just for me. It's just being happy with oneself. Like, I've achieved the financial thing, but am I happy? Am I happy with myself? Am I a good husband, good father? Am I achieving those goals? And I'm telling you, I didn't even think about it, Ben. I didn't even think about it. And then by not thinking about it, I dealt with some of, I think, business stresses in a way that seemed to make sense. A beer calms you down. It makes sense. And then wouldn't 5 be better? You know? And then that becomes every day. And then that leads to its own problems. So, you know, I've talked more than you probably want me to here, but that's just my journey there. And so now I take care of myself. By taking care of myself emotionally, I'm able to take care of my wife, my son, and my business. And those are the things that are important to me.
Well, first of all, definitely haven't been talking too much because I'm genuinely interested.
Thanks.
And I think that somebody like yourself who has achieved so much and has such an incredible story, we all have a lot of somethings to learn from you. And I actually think we have something, at least I have something to learn from everybody. And the question that popped into my mind, and I love what you said, by the way, about the money can solve some problems, a lot of which are probably solving the time problem of giving you back your time.
Yeah.
But then if there's something on the inside that's not like you have to then be with yourself for that time. And instead of thinking about like the money thing, it like opens you up and frees you up to then think about other things. So the question that I have relating to that is, do you feel like it would be wise to always try and be in this balanced state of, you know, being growing financially, growing spiritually, growing emotionally, intellectually? Or is it something where you think it's a good idea to go all in on one avenue, and then once you get that, then move on to the others?
That's a good question. Now, I thought the fireplace made sense, but it's getting hot in here. So I'm going to answer that while I open the window. It's raining here in New Hampshire, so the heat seemed like a good thing, but this office is heating up too much. I think it's better to be balanced. I wasn't. So since I didn't do it, I suppose my opinion isn't as relevant as other opinions I have related to things I did. I wasn't balanced. I was the guy who was just like 20 hours a day, no sleep. I know it's not good for me. You know, I'm a physical education teacher. I know what I need to do to be healthy, and I'm going to sacrifice that to build this business. And so, you know, it was years before this got off the ground, like grinding in the background where nobody knew who I was. And I was charging $9.99 a month for my support, and nobody was buying it. And just figuring all of that out. And it was 7 days a week and 15, 20 hours a day and very little sleep, because while I'm trying to sleep, I'm thinking. And I think I still would have gotten to here by doing 12-hour days and going to yoga. You know what I mean? And kind of believing that I'm going to be successful. And when I arrive at whatever that definition is, and I now believe that you don't arrive at success, you know. But then it was the money for me, and literally just like, if I make $100,000 a year, I've achieved my goal and things are going to be fine. And that's what I thought. And so to answer your question, it wasn't the way that I did it. So I can't say for certain that it works, but it seems to me it makes more sense to be balanced. That doesn't mean that you can't work 20 hours a day. You can still mix in 1 hour yoga session, a 30-minute meditation, go for a jog, and work a 20-hour day and get 4 hours of sleep if that's your thing. Those were the things that I had to do to get this business off the ground. And my business partner is the same way. Like, he's a hustler. He works long days. He's a brilliant mind, and he just likes to grow things. And so working with a guy like that, who is all in, like 7 days a week, constantly trying to grow the business and never satisfied, I feel the same way. I feel like he was a little bit more balanced, and I didn't have as much experience as a trader or in business. So I feel like I had to, maybe I was overexerting more. I don't know, to be honest, but I've always felt like he's had a little bit more balance than me. And so he went through this process and it grew, and he was more balanced, and I don't feel like I necessarily was. My wheels were kind of coming off the wagon. So I think if I was a little bit more balanced in those 7 years as we grew this from 0 to 100 million, like maybe when I achieved what I thought was my financial goal, I would have known better what to do with my time. I would have felt more comfortable in my space and my being. So my advice to anybody who's an entrepreneur trying to grow something big, The goal is money. That was mine too. And I think just being balanced along the way is possibly a little bit better. Like, Ben, I'm the type of guy, like I would be in front of the computer and I wasn't leaving. You know, I sacrificed exercise, time with friends and family. I shut down relationships. We were doing this, you know, like we were doing the thing and I was all in, man. And that went on for years. And then when the money flowed in, a little bit of the pressure came off financially, but, you know, just this inability to kind of know what to do next for me set in. So, you know, just little things like, you know, you've got a lot of great podcasts, a lot of intelligent people that have kind of come before us. And so I was smart enough to figure out I need a trading coach to learn how to trade so that I can teach it. Like, I already have a master's, so I'm confident if I learn something, I can reteach it. So long as I'm a really good trader, that's not a problem. But I was smart enough to find a better trader, and he was also a better businessman. So he could teach me trading and teach me business. I was smart enough to do that. I wasn't smart enough to be like, okay, I might need a life coach too to teach me balance along the way, regardless of success. Like, it possibly would be worse if you worked that hard and didn't get success, right? And then maybe the consequences there are worse than the consequences I faced or the unraveling, if you will. So retaining or just seeking out good podcasts like yours from people that have come before you can save you a lot of headache. And so again, I'm educated enough to know to go to get help in certain areas, but I didn't get help for myself. You know, like, how am I going to deal with all this? And I think that's probably why the wheels came off the wagon. So balanced is best, and literally like paying or, you know, your podcasts, you know, this is something that people can watch without a huge investment, right? So these are things that people can benefit from. And I do that now myself. I just didn't then.
Well, I'm so fascinated by the concept of balance because in my life, and I've been an entrepreneur for close to 5 years now. I'm almost 25 and I started when I was 20. And
good for you, by the way. I wish I started when I was 20.
Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
But I don't have the answer. I don't know the answer of, you know, what is the right balance. And I think everybody has to find their own.
Yeah.
But I'm always trying to ask myself more questions of like, okay, well, what's most important to me? Like, where should I invest my time that's the most meaningful, the most impactful, the best for me? And so, you know, I feel like it's fascinating that somebody as incredible as you kind of had to ask those same questions, and you know, it seems like you went down that path too, and that to me is fascinating. And you know, I think that kind of begs the question of, now that you've you know, you've kind of been on this roller coaster of ups and downs and tons of success and some moments that weren't as successful by whatever measure. You know, what's the purpose of it all now? You know, what's your purpose now?
I asked my life coach that last week. So it's an interesting question when you start to focus on being at more peace with yourself. And I'm trying to figure that out myself. I mean, so here's the things that motivate me now. And I think I'm probably the most happy that I've ever been in my life. I've achieved the financial thing. I'm really starting to tap into the emotional wellness thing. And through that emotional wellness, you then ask yourself, like, I feel I'm pretty happy today. Things are good, or when things are bad, I know how to deal with them. Like, you know, people always say, take some breaths before you respond. You know, like, I never used to do that. Like, if something hit me that I didn't like, boom, I was right in your face with the answer, versus, you know, I'm going to think this through before I respond and whatnot. And so to be honest with you, I don't know myself, but I'll tell you what, I've in the last year, I've really worked hard to put myself first. And what I mean by that is like my well-being. So whatever that means to me. And so for me, it's good sleep. I seem to need a lot of sleep to to be able to keep up with the stress of business and stock trading. Stock trading is really hard. You're good one day, you're not the next. Selling, building this business is really hard. We have to have real products that really help people to keep the growth going. So constantly trying to put the customer first requires a ton of energy to have a really good product. And so all of these things are stressful, and I didn't know how to decompress from that before. I do now. So my days are really enjoyable because I come into what I feel like is shark infested waters. I'm constantly like that bull bear that they talk about with Wall Street. It really exists. Like, it is a fight. And any day, the other side would love to see you go down. And so I'm constantly fighting. And then when that fight is done, I try and just recognize that as like I did a baseball game. For 9 innings, we're going to do this. And my job is to win. Like, if you're the pitcher pitching to me, I want to smack that ball over the fence, and I'm going to do it. I go into the fight every day with that mindset. But then when the game is over, I'm going to shake that pitcher's hand. If I lose money trading on the day or something doesn't go my way in business, I shake hands, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. Like, I'm going to come back and play another game. And then in the evening, I'm then trying to fix things. So I'm working on my swing, or I'm trying to figure out why that pitcher was able to dominate me, or, so in business, same thing. And so I don't have the answer to life, but I can tell you, like, I thought money was the only thing, and it wasn't. And what I found now, even when I was a phys ed teacher, money was a problem, but I think I still struggled with these things. For me, taking care of myself so that I can take care of my wife, my son, my business really is satisfying. Like, I feel like I'm a better person in every one of those categories by simply taking care of myself. And so that means, to this day, 10 months into sobriety, life coaches, therapists, books, podcasts like on your site. I am doing things to make myself a better person, totally unrelated to trading. Because if I'm a better person and I can address things like anger, greed, fear, things that in our subconscious drive us to do things that we don't even know sometimes, that our subconscious is what, is causing us to react the way we do. By addressing those things through the channels that I mentioned, my days are just so much more peaceful. So I'm in this, what I see is like, I'm in the Coliseum every single day, fighting for my stock trading, fighting for my customers, fighting for my business, fighting for my family, fighting for myself. And by being spiritually healthy, I don't even know if that's the right word, but I guess you could say that, by taking care of myself through the ways I mentioned, like, I don't feel like I'm in hyper arousal all the time. And, your viewers, they might see me and be like, that guy's jacked up. But, my whole life has been that way. Played tons of sports, tons of energy. It's not a mistake that I ended up being a physical education teacher. Like, that movement and teaching people to move, that was my thing. And so it kind of comes out in a podcast like this, but I'm very at peace, and it didn't always used to be that way. So I don't have the answer to life, or like, once you achieve your financial goal, what's it going to feel like, or how's it going to be? But I can tell you, it wasn't the answer to me. Like, this money has been great, but I had so many happy times as a school teacher where I was flat broke. Like, and I feel like I'm kind of back to that level. I'm kind of back to where, my wife and I bought our first house for $113,000. And it was the height of the real estate market. So we overpaid for this house that was beat up and horrible. And just the little projects in the house, like, I gutted the kitchen once, right down to the studs, because I read in this old house that it wouldn't be expensive to put it back in myself. I had no skills. I was not a craftsman. I did not know how to put a kitchen back in. I found that out after I gutted it. I should have thought about it in advance, but this old house sold me that I could do it. And I ripped it out, and then no kitchen. My wife was mad. Those memories had nothing to do with money. It was life. And so money's great because it does buy freedom of time. Once you have that freedom of time, you better be prepared for what comes next, which is, what do you do with that time? For me, like, just spending wasn't the answer. And by the way, I went down that road. I went down the road of, like, now I'm driving the Range Rovers, and, everything is bling, and, and I was moving in the direction of sports cars, and I really wasn't happy. It was like, I was happy when I purchased it, and then a week later that high was gone, and I needed a bigger purchase to then be happy again. Like, I got to come over the top of this either for social media to show my followers how successful I am, or for myself, because there is a high when you buy something nice. And then, we've all done it, right? You buy a new car, you feel really excited about it. 6 months later, you're like, these payments stink. So I went through that. And so just having this, man, I'm telling you, it's probably the most important thing I've ever done in my life in the last year. Learning how to be emotionally fit was the best decision I ever made. And it took a bottoming out for me to seek help. Like I sought help to get rich. I didn't seek any help for my well-being, and it suffered then. Like, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny then. And I don't ever want to go back to that place. So if somebody watching right now has aspirations of getting rich and they haven't really thought about their emotional well-being in that journey, do yourself a favor. Get emotionally fit at the same time as you get financially fit. If you achieve that financial goal, you're going to be so much better off than I was when I achieved it. That's probably my best tip that I could give to anybody in life. And I will also say this. I don't think money is the most important thing in the world. Friendships, family, those are things that I had and I do have now, but I lost when I feel like I sacrificed some of those things in the pursuit of financial wellness. And that could have been part of the reason why things unraveled for me as well. Like I let go of a lot of things that were important to me just to get money,
Jason, I want to really thank you for taking the time to be on the show. And
my pleasure. You got a great show, Ben. I'm really happy to be here.
Well, if it is great, and I really strive to make it so, it's because of incredible people like you who choose to share your time. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
It's very generous of you. I have one more question for you.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a personal question, but I really want to know. I'm 24 years old, and I've been going through life, and I've had experiences, and doing the best that I can. But I would love to know, what question should I be asking you, and specifically asking you, that I just wouldn't think to ask?
Oh man, that's great. 24. Goodness. I was in my second year of teaching and 9/11 happened. My first year of teaching and 9/11 happened at 24. Man, I thought I was going to be a teacher for the rest of my life at 24. I guess what I would say is this. Man, that's a great question. I would say it's not often I'm at a loss of words, but the advice I give a lot of people is to bet on themselves, but you've already done that. So that's like my go-to, when people told me I was having a midlife crisis, I chose to believe that I could be successful in business, successful as a trader, and it worked out. But I kind of doubted myself. I believe, you're on the entrepreneurial path, so you've bet on yourself, and I think that's the most important thing. So then, I guess the question, and I don't know what your goals are, as far as how big you want to build your businesses, but I guess the question would be, and I've kind of touched upon it, what's the balance look like, and what Ben, you got me, man. That's probably the best question I've ever gotten. I would say that you should ask me, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I'd have to think about that, or you'd have to guide me. I've never had somebody ask me that question. So I would get back to you probably in an email or on a phone call at this point in time, because that's a darn good question. And more people should probably ask it. What should you ask me? I mean, you asked a lot of great ones, but these are topics relative to me. So what's the question relative to you? I guess I would say you should ask me what your goals should be based on my experiences. So you explain your situation and then ask me what I think your goals should be. I feel like that's a pretty good skill set of mine, being able to kind of motivate people and focus them on their direction, on their journey. You're young, you've been successful already. But irregardless of somebody's financial success, I would say you are asking me, what is the big game here based on your goals? So you sit down, you tell me, I'm doing this, and this. What do you think, Jason? I was on the phone today with a guy. He's building adaptive. He's a teacher in the school district that I taught in. He has his principal degree. He's chosen not to be a principal. He still teaches. He's in his 15th year, and he's got a great product. He actually patented a product, and it allows disabled children to hit a baseball from a wheelchair, from a wide variety of disabilities, allows them to play baseball, to hit a baseball. And he's bringing this to market. And he's been at Bauer Hockey in front of the CEO pitching this product. He's trying to get on Shark Tank. And so he's kind of in that situation where he has his thing, right? Your thing's different than my thing, Ben. But he comes to me and he says, we're in two completely different worlds now. I'm over here teaching people to trade stocks and internet marketing, and he's trying to bring a piece of adaptive sports equipment to the market while being a school teacher with a family. And so he comes to me and says, based on your experiences in business, these guys want to give me $200,000, take $200 of every sale till the 200 is paid back and 10% of the company. What do you think? And so I think a younger guy in your shoes, and you said you believe you have something to learn from everyone. I think that kind of would be my answer based on what you're trying to achieve, asking anybody who has had some wild success what they think the next steps are for you. I found that to be very helpful for me. So that would be the question I would tell anybody on the other side of the table who says, Jay, I'm trying to do this. What do you think? Even if we're not in the same ballpark as far as business models, I'm like you. I can learn something from everyone. Like Tony Robbins was the one who taught me, great, you're emotionally intelligent. Are you practicing it? So I believe too that you can learn something from everyone. And I also believe that if you really focus that to trying to learn from the people you believe you can learn the most from and can help you the most, you can actually, instead of trying to learn from everyone, let's learn from the 10 people we think can help us the most. And so that probably funnels it down for me. I would say you ask me what I said, based on what I'm doing, Jay. I'm building my podcast business, this, and this. What do you think I should do next? And also, who are 10 people that you think could help me, do that better, or that could answer that question as well? And so now you're using my network and my knowledge to kind of advance your goals. I think that's probably one of the reasons I'm successful, to be honest with you, Ben. I'm always asking other people. Even my business partner right now is teaching me a new trading strategy so I can have a new newsletter. From last Friday to today, with a new strategy I'm putting together so I can have a new newsletter, I made $17,700 realized profits. This is just me trading in a TD Ameritrade account, putting together a new strategy. I'm literally learning it on the fly. So our business is successful. I went to my business partner and said, I've really struggled with this area of trading, meaning I've never been successful. I've wanted to do it, but I need some more coaching. And you're busy running the business, Jeff, but can we do 30 minutes a day and you teach me how to do this? So he already taught me how to trade stocks. And now I've got him teaching me how to trade a different asset class. And that happened because I was open to kind of approaching him and asking him for help. So that would be my advice. What can you do to give me or to kind of point me in the right direction? And sometimes I think you'll get advice. Maybe you get my advice and it won't be helpful to you. And I think then other times you will get advice and you'll be like, aha. The person who told me to do the Dave Ramsey program just did it in passing. They just said, oh, you don't like the $250,000 in loans you have? Credit cards, student loans, mortgage, personal loans. You don't like those, Jason? Dave Ramsey's on Fox Business every night teaching people how to pay down their debt. And so, that was something that really interested me. So just through casual conversation and talking to people and asking questions, somebody mentioned to me, you might like Dave Ramsey, Jason. And so that's kind of my point. I say certain stuff to you, take it or leave it. But you might hear one thing, and I'm convinced. I don't do the Dave Ramsey program. I don't think we're doing this podcast today, because if I don't get out of debt before I leave teaching, I don't think I have the courage to quit my teaching job, because I was afraid that I would fail. I was really scared. If I quit my teaching job and I can't get a teaching job after I fail at business, what am I going to do to support my family? That fear was real. But because I asked somebody, hey, I don't like this debt, what do you think? Oh, Dave Ramsey can teach you how to get rid of that debt. And I did what Dave said. Dave said, you sacrifice now so you can be rewarded later. I knew what that meant. I mean, I've gone to college, 4 years of not earning income, paying college tuition to get a degree. So hopefully I can get a teaching job. So I knew what Dave was saying. Like, you're going to have to sacrifice again, Jason. And this sucks at 35 years old, 10 years into your teaching career, but you're going to have to pay off all your debt, so that you could take the risk of quitting your job, to take the risk of starting a business, to take the risk of becoming a good stock trader and teaching people to trade stocks. So think of it, man. The best thing I think any entrepreneur can do, if you can get the time from people, is to ask them, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. What do you think? Just like the guy on the phone said to me today, is that a good deal? 200 grand, 10% of the business. I got to pay him the 200 grand back. And then we're pounding it out. Or I put him in touch with somebody who has that answer. Right. And so I think that's the best thing. And it took me a while to get to that, Ben. That's probably the best darn question I've gotten in a long time, man. Good for you.
Well, again, Jason, I want to thank you for again sharing your time with me. It's truly been an honor and a pleasure to be able to speak with you. And I want to also sincerely acknowledge you for for what you do, because I mean, I feel like you're teaching people, and obviously way better than I do, but from my limited perspective, what I can see is that you're really teaching people how to become financially free and how to improve their financial life. And I've seen so many people and friends and family, people very near and dear to me, struggle with that. And so I'm just so thankful that you're out there doing what you do and solving that problem. So I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying so, Ben. It's been a pleasure to be on your show. I really appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And to everybody who's watching and listening, I want to thank y'all, because each and every one of you, your time is very valuable, and I'm very grateful that you choose to share with us. So thank you very much. I love y'all, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.